All right, welcome to the StarCommand podcast. This is the college edition, talking all things NCAA today. Alan, we got probably one of the biggest weekends in college football in a long time. A lot of huge games, a lot of renewed rivalries, and rivalries where one team is going in one direction and the other is going in a completely separate direction. And and the beautiful thing about these college football rivalries, right, is that no matter what one team is doing and the other one is doing, they always seem to come together and have these great games. We'll start with Tennessee, Florida, because this is kind of a repeat of last year, except for it's going to be hosted in Knoxville this year, right? Tennessee's a one-loss team looking to try to make a playoff run here at the end of the season. They're coming off of a heartbreaking loss to your Arkansas Razorbacks, a game that they were expected to win by a lot of points. I think the spread on that game was 14 or 15, 17. Okay.
17.
And so they go in with this redshirt freshman quarterback. Arkansas plays a near perfect game, upsets them, and now they have to turn around and play probably their biggest rival, right? The Tennessee-Florida game is a huge deal down here. And I spent some time out in the Knoxville, Tennessee area when I was a real little kid, and I remember the air that was around this game. You know, it was always you have the history of Peyton Manning never beating Florida, and then as soon as he leaves, Quincy Martin comes in and beats Florida and goes on to win a national championship when Peyton Manning couldn't. T. Martin, yes, I'm sorry. And so, and again, Florida seems to be going in a completely opposite direction. We don't know what's going on with Billy Napier, how much longer he's going to be with the team. We would imagine at least till the end of the season. But they've picked up a couple of decent wins. They had a big win against UCF last week. And they kind of seem to be turning a corner and maybe figuring things out this season. Granted, their playoff hopes are blown out of the water early, but they still have a chance to make a bowl game and play the upsetter, right? Play the ruiner. They could go in and ruin Tennessee's season today with an upset win in Knoxville. Tennessee's favored by 15, I do believe. It's kind of fluctuated. I've seen it as low as 13 and as high as 16. I'm not sure where they settled out at. Again, this is one of those games that I generally stay away from. You know, and we were in this predicament last year. Tennessee goes into Gainesville last year, undefeated, looking like they could be playing for an SEC championship game or at least trying to figure out a way to get into the playoff. And somehow, some way, Florida pulls it off and upsets them down there in the swamp. And so the only thing that's changed this year is where they're playing this game.
Absolutely. I made my first visit to the swamp last year. I got to go with some buddies to the Tennessee-Florida game, and I got to witness it firsthand. And in the entire game, it was Florida being nice, and you guys really have a good team. Because my buddy was from Tennessee. He was decked out in his overalls, orange and white striped, and my other friend was a Gator. And so it was a great going around to the tailgates and talking to the different, parties. And it was Florida knew what they were in for, right? They were like, hey, we're giving you your props. So I look, when I was reviewing this game, it was Florida's won 17 of the last 19 games that they've played.
Yeah.
Wow, right? Like,
right.
that makes sense when you think about it, 'cause Tennessee's had some down years, decade more or more. So yeah, that game, the atmosphere was electric, and Florida put it to them. Florida made more plays. Tennessee couldn't move the ball. It was very physical. And I expect the same thing this year. Tennessee is a different animal. Arkansas really shut them down last week, which was a huge surprise because Tennessee is one of three teams that is in top 10 offense, top 10 defense.
Right.
The other two are two teams we're going to talk about in another here in a second, two other games, Texas and Ohio State. Those are the three teams that are the cream of the crop. But they couldn't get first downs. They couldn't convert on third down. We kept them in third and long. Florida's battle tested. They've started the year with Miami and got shellacked. and hey, this is where we're at as a program. But it has, incrementally gotten a little bit better. And so, yeah, I think it's going to be a great game. I think that's a lot of points. I don't know that they go in and roll Florida.
Right.
But again, how do these kids react coming off bad losses? How does Tennessee, did they really get after it? Did they focus harder? Did we expose them? Did we put some stuff on tape and now they can say, hey, if you can get it, if you can stop, really get our interior linemen put so much pressure on Tennessee's quarterback that he was running for his life. We were getting sacks, and that was a big problem for them. So can Florida get that same internal pressure up the middle and make him leave the
Right.
pocket? But yeah, that's going to be a good game. And can Florida continue its dominance? That shocked me seeing that
Yeah,
17 of 19. That's crazy for such a big rivalry.
it is. You know, and it's crazy that it's still such a big rivalry with that much dominance, right? Like usually a rivalry, yeah, there'll be a few years where one team, like if you take the Florida Georgia game, right? There's a stretch of years where Florida completely dominated Georgia and then vice versa. But that 17 of 19, that's a crazy stat. It and the truth is it can go any way. Either way, Tennessee's minus 16 at this point or 17, whatever it is.
Yeah,
And
Tennessee dropped after playing us. They were the number one defense in college. They're now number two.
okay,
So they're still their defense is elite. And we may look at this game and it may be 35-3. They may really just go out there and that could happen.
it very well could. And the key to this, right? The key for Tennessee, right, is getting their redshirt freshman quarterback comfortable early. Florida's job in this is to make him as uncomfortable as possible as early as possible, because that's the key to it, right? Is you have a young, inexperienced quarterback, and I think that's what Arkansas was able to do. They were able to make him uncomfortable and not recognize what he was seeing early. And if you can do that
Absolutely.
and get him confused and get into his head early, he's young. He doesn't have the ability to recover from that as quickly as the next game we're going to talk about is a Quinn Ewers, right? The next game is Texas and Oklahoma. Another one of those rivalry games that can go either way, but you've got two programs that are seemingly going in different directions, right? Texas was number one and then lost the number one, and then Alabama loses to Vandy, and in a bye week we get put back into the number one spot, rightfully so. But you've got Oklahoma seems absolutely inept on offense. They had the 5-star recruit Arnold quarterback in him. He had a bad game against Tennessee, and they've benched him, and they've got a new quarterback. I'm not
Yeah,
even
they're 121st ranked offense. That's terrible for
right.
Oklahoma.
There's 134 or 135 teams total in the
Terrible.
FBS. So you're in the bottom 10 to 15 of total offense going up against, you just said, a top 10 defense
Number
in
three.
college football. Right. So and again, talking heads say to take Texas minus 15, but I'm not sold on that, right? I did take him in my picks. I do have Texas as minus 15 because of what the talking heads have said. But that's one of those nervous bets, right? That's one of those I've got to watch every minute of this game to see if my money comes in, because it's a rivalry. Again, there were a couple of years ago, I remember when Caleb Williams was still at Oklahoma and Spencer Rattler was at Oklahoma. We were up big. I think we were up by like 20 or 24 points in that game. They sit Spencer Rattler down. Caleb Williams comes in and doesn't even really throw the ball. He does most of his damage with his legs on the ground and leads probably one of the biggest comebacks ever in the Red River rivalry and completely destroys Texas. People were starting to call for Sarkisian's job right away. And then the very next year it happened all over again. We were up big against Texas, or I mean against Oklahoma. They sit Spencer Rattler down, and that was actually when Spencer Rattler lost his job for good. Bring Caleb Williams in, and Caleb Williams does his thing. It's one of those games that until it strikes triple zeros, anything can
So
happen in these kind
speaking
of
of
games.
backup quarterbacks, who is starting for Texas? Yours?
Quinn Ewers is starting for Texas. He is
Okay.
back healthy and good to go. And
Okay.
honestly, if something happens to him in the game, I have all the faith in Arch Manning after seeing him over the last couple of weeks, just really be able to dominate uh, in college football, fresh off the bench. He came in the game where Quinn got hurt and dominated, and then the next 2 weeks he made some mistakes, that you would expect from a redshirt freshman that's starting his first game or second game. But all in all, Arch Manning looks every bit the part. I'm excited about Texas's future with Arch Manning. I think we could reel off a couple of championships in a row between Ewers and Manning if everything plays out right. Uh, so I'm definitely not worried about that. I would love to see Quinn Ewers make it through the game and make it through the rest of the season, but if for whatever reason is not able, in Arch we trust. So
Absolutely. Texas is definitely set up. The more we talk about that game, and we talked about it before we jumped on and talking about our
Mhm.
picks, it's sometimes you think we talk about the rivalry and how it's going to be a battle and yeah, the could and should. I think I said the could should, like Texas should blow them out, Oklahoma
Right,
could beat them. But sometimes the eye test tells you this isn't every year. This isn't a typical year where
right.
both teams have elite talent. There's one team that's elite and
Yes,
has studs, and then there's another team that's good.
right.
And this could, and more I think about it, this sounds like a Texas route. This is
Yeah,
Texas. This is Texas ready to give them, say, hey guys. Plus, Oklahoma's 1-1 in the SEC.
right.
Forget who it was that beat them.
Tennessee.
Tennessee, yes, Tennessee, and they didn't put up any points, like you said. They were just inept. I mean, Tennessee had the number one ranked defense, but here they are facing the number three
3, right,
defense, and it's just gonna get the same situation. And in this one, they hate each other. Tennessee doesn't even hate Oklahoma. Texas
right.
hates Oklahoma. So when they have an advantage, they're gonna try to stomp them. This isn't gonna
Well,
take the foot off the pedal.
and here's Texas's opportunity, right, to really on a national showcase, the 3:30 game. Everybody really watches the 3:30 game, and here's your chance to really just put your stamp on this season of this is who we are. We're about to talk about another huge game that's not a huge rivalry, will probably become a huge rivalry going forward. But Ohio State and Oregon play today. If you really want to keep that number one spot, you have to come out and just completely dominate a lesser opponent, regardless of the rivalry, regardless of the air around the game. You have to come out here and be able to put the blinders on, ignore all the noise, and come and stand on business, right? You need to come and be able to put in work and show the whole country why Texas is the number one team in the country. Because this Oregon Ohio State is a matchup of two top 10 teams. I think they're
It's the
two
best
and
matchup.
three.
It's
Right.
the
They're
math. Yeah, 2 and 3. It is the best matchup. These are the two most balanced teams. We've been talking about defenses. The number two, we mentioned the number two, the number three. We know who the number one is. Ohio State.
right.
They are legit, and they've kind of been overlooked this year. There's been so much, the new SEC teams and the pack, all these teams traveling. What's USC gonna do? And Michigan losing early, and here's Ohio State just churning
Yeah.
win after win and big wins. Just blowing people out. They are the not. They got again. This is the third team that's getting top. They're ninth offensively, one defensively. Now Oregon. They're the 10th defense and the 25th offense. That's balance. Anybody would take that. Give
Right.
me, I'm
Right.
top 25. I can run it. I can run, I can pass, I can play defense. So, man, this is the game. I know, the history of Texas, Oklahoma outweighs this, but you
Oh,
talk
most
about
definitely.
where we're at in our time and place in sports. Ohio State, Oregon, in Eugene is going to be a hell
Well,
of a game.
and this is the first time Ohio State's been to Eugene, Oregon in over 60 years, right?
Which is
Oregon,
cool, right? It's not
yeah,
something you don't see it. Yeah, seeing that Buckeyes run around in Eugene.
right. And so, and the other part of that is it's a 2 versus 3 matchup, right? This is what we want to see early in the season, right? We don't want to have to wait until bowl games and playoff season to see these matchups. We want to see these matchups throughout the season, and getting to see this is great. You know, Ohio State went out and spent $20 million in NIL money to put this team together. You know,
Ooh.
this is what you paid for right here, you know, and so for them to go in and get a win against a really good Oregon team, right? This isn't the same Oregon team as it was last year. This is a different Oregon team. But the fact that they've been able to consistently put good product on the field,
And
right?
they've gotten better. They've
And they
started
have.
slow. They
They
started
have.
slow. There was questions about, hey, is this team really legit? But they
Yeah,
have gotten, Gabriel has gotten improved game by game, and they're clicking
most
now.
definitely. You know, and Gabriel was a Heisman candidate last year. He's kind of fallen further down the road, but I think he's still in somewhat of the Heisman conversation. And this right here for him, if he can upset Ohio State at home in a big 3 versus 2 matchup, this could very well go a long way to getting him back in that conversation. For me, there's only 2 people that should ever be in that conversation, and that's that Boise State running back and Travis Hunter. Like, that's figure out who you want to give it to between those two. Leave
I
everybody
love
else
it.
out of
Not, and
it.
they're not quarterbacks. That's so
Right.
cool. Not many
those
people
those are
could
the by
argue
far
that.
the 2 best football players in college football. But Dylan Gabriel can get his way back into this conversation for a Heisman Trophy with a big win here. And I think Oregon has the ability to do it. They're just going to have to play the best football game they've played all year, because we talked about it earlier. The 2 most well-rounded teams in all of college football are Texas and Ohio State.
Absolutely.
All the big national talking heads all say that that's who should be playing for the national championship, and kind of everybody else is just who's going to make the playoff to be their competition. You know, here's Oregon's chance to make a statement and say, you're forgetting about us. I know we're on the West Coast and we play late night games and you don't get to see us very often, but this is us. This is who we are. So they have a real big chance to make a good statement win. I do like Ohio State to be victorious in this. It's just too early in the year for Ohio State to lose. Um, Honestly, I don't know that they lose a game this year. I, I don't trust Penn State, and Michigan's not the same Michigan team, so I don't expect them to struggle with Michigan at all.
Yeah,
Uh,
Ohio State got kind of lucky with their schedule. They got a lot of cupcakes early, and they got the weaker Big Ten schedule to
yeah,
where they're healthy and they're poised for this game. They've been able to build the offense, and they haven't had that. They didn't go out and get the juggernaut games like Texas, Michigan, USC, LSU. They didn't,
right,
Alabama, Georgia have already played. They've had none of that. They have literally
right,
built the game by game has been tougher, tougher, weak, tough, tough. So
yeah.
they're just a well-oiled
This
machine at
is
this point. And this
this
is
is
his
probably the toughest game on their whole schedule. So
for sure.
if this is the toughest game on your whole schedule, you have no choice but to win this game,
Right.
right? Because when we get down to it and start, playoffs and Big Ten championships
Yeah,
and all of that,
they play
where do you
Penn
rank?
State, but where's Penn State going to be at that time?
Right.
But they still have Penn State. I don't know. I'd have to look at their schedule, but I know they have Penn State on the schedule.
Always. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
an every year
and
game.
then
Penn State,
Michigan
Michigan.
and Michigan, but I don't know who else is ranked other than those 2
Yeah.
teams.
Yeah, and where will Michigan be ranked going forward, because they can't throw the ball. I think that new quarterback that they have starting, forget what his name is. It's a kind of funky name, but he's only got like 230 yards passing in 3 games. Like, they literally just run the ball. So, and we were talking about Penn State, right? Is who's Ohio State's going to have to play here in a few weeks at some point in time, is playing Penn State this Penn State is
USC.
playing USC this week.
And it's
Uh
kind of a letdown. USC's out of the top 25 now. Like this
right.
game could be so much better if USC was handling business, but they're not.
They're not, and they're struggling in the Big Ten, right? Again, we just talked about Michigan. They played that Michigan team that had no passing game and could not stop them from running the ball. Then they play a Minnesota Golden Gophers team who really has never been great. They sneak into the top 25 every couple of years, but they're never really super ultra competitive. And they took Michigan down to the wire, had a heartbreaking loss on a bad call on the onside kick that they recovered, and there was some kind of penalty or something that didn't negated it all. And so they come back and beat USC pretty handily for what it was. And then now USC's got to go to Penn State, and I like Penn State in this one.
Yeah, Penn State
It,
has to win this game. They
yeah.
just
Oh,
have to.
yeah.
They have to. This is that the only ranked opponent on their schedule left is Ohio State. So they have no quality wins they're not going to have any eye-popping wins that are going to say, "Hey, oh wow, Penn State's the real deal." They've got to handle business and look good doing it.
Right.
USC's proven that they're not the team that they used to be, or that we were putting them on a pedestal to be. So they really have to go dominate USC, get this big victory. Their defense is great again, fourth ranked. They're the fourth ranked defense. They're going to be there, and I think that can they find enough explosive plays to just get them in the 20s? I don't think USC probably gets to 17. Can Penn
Right.
State get to 20, 30 and they win the game?
Yeah. And really, for me, I think Penn State has to win this game in a dominant fashion, right?
I agree.
This can't be a squeak by win. USC's proven that they're not tough enough to play in the Big Ten. And every year we hear about this vaunted Penn State defense and this high flying Penn State offense. And then they go up against a quality opponent, and it's not any of that we've been hearing about. If Penn State wants to change the narrative about Penn State, then this is a game that they have to win, and win dominantly, not 27-24 or 21-17. Like, you've got to win, 35-20 or, 27-10, or you need to look like a dominant team in this game.
I agree. Another cool matchup of teams that don't play each other. Last time they played was 1991. So 25 years ago. Just it's cool seeing these matchups happen.
Yeah.
And I think it's in the Coliseum, right? Is it in
I, bel
LA?
I believe it is in LA. I think both Penn State and Ohio State
That's right,
are
because
traveling to the West Coast
they're
for the first
traveling on
time.
the West Coast. Yep, you mentioned that. Yeah.
And it is on the West Coast, because I remember I was listening to a radio show earlier this week, and they were talking about the airport there at College Station wasn't able to accommodate them getting out to the West Coast they had to take some connecting flights or something, and it really delayed their travel time. And yeah, so I think I think James Franklin or somebody was talking trash about the College Station airport because of not being able to accommodate the travels. So yeah. So again, another game, Penn State has to win to kind of just show who they are. Who are you, Penn State? Are you the Penn State we always hear about that falters towards the middle of the season, or have you finally turned the corner and are going to be a dominant Big Ten team that actually has a chance to win a Big Ten title? Cool. So I think that really does it for our college football segment. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Remember, if you could, hit the like and subscribe. We have a separate video out with all of our picks. If you want to cash in on some Hard Rock bets here in Florida, wherever you may be listening, it may be a different app or whatever, but we've got picks on a separate video. Go and check that out. Like and subscribe. Share it with your friends. Help us get rolling. With that, we are out.